Okay, guys, I want to talk about something you don't hear a whole lot about, and that's what I like to call the weirdness factor. And part of that might be the bluffing factor. I had a hand today where I had called the 3-bet with pocket 2, so got raised, call, made it 65, call. I felt I had enough implied odds here. If I hit a 2, I could call. So I ended up calling. The flop came 10-5 deuce all spades. So check, I checked to the raiser and he checked it back. Okay. Turn was a 6, offsuit 6, didn't change anything. The pot was about $110. And the first act bet $10 into 110. That's just like a bullshit bet. I'm going to raise this with a set, obviously. So I bump it to 125. And then the initial 3-better, who was last to act, ended up making it, it's about 500 total. Where it was about like 350 more for me to call. The initial guy folded, and it came back around to me, and I was seriously in the tank here for a long time. I wasn't sure what to do. I had a set, and I'm thinking, okay, if the guy had a pair, like a pair of aces, pair of kings, you would think he would bet the flop. Maybe he's fearful of a flush, but if he's fearful of a flush, why would he jam the turn? Because he obviously wasn't scared on the turn. So the only thing that made sense to me was a nut flush, right? Where he checked the flush, and I raised, and then maybe I have a lower flush, maybe I have a set, maybe I have top pair, and he ended up jamming, coming over the top, and I'm just thinking, boy, he knows I could have a flush, he knows I could have a set, he should know that. I'm checking naturally to the pre-flop raiser. I just didn't understand what he was doing, unless he had the nut flush where he just was slow playing. And now, of course, going all in makes some sense. If I have a set, if I have a lower flush, it might be hard for me to call. And so, I would probably call, and then he takes me to Value Town with his nut flush. So it just really, nothing made sense to me besides the nut flush. But then I did my pot odds, and I thought about the pot odds. Pot odds basically were, I was getting almost 3-1, and I need 3.5-1 to fill up on the river. So I was not getting quite the right price. I was getting close, but I wasn't getting the right price. But then I'm thinking, could he be doing something weird? Is there a weirdness factor where he's got aces or something? And I don't know why he wouldn't bet the flop. That's what really threw me off. Why wouldn't he bet the flop with aces? I don't get it with the nut flop, with the 3 spades out there. I'm betting aces there with the spades to charge someone with a high spade. So I don't know what he has besides a nut flush. The only thing that makes sense is a nut flush. But if for some reason he has an overpair, maybe an overpair with the spade in his hand, like possibly aces with the ace of spades, but you would think that he would just call the turn because I can have a flush. That's what I'm talking about as far as the weirdness factor. Now, there is a bluffing factor involved there, too. I'd call it the bluffing factor, where you have to think about, okay, maybe he's turning ace-king with the ace of spades into a bluff. He thinks he can get me off a low flush. Maybe. Maybe he thinks he can get me off, a 10, where he just got overs in the spade, and he's got a shit ton of equity, and he thinks he can just get me to fold. There's things that, okay, if there's any chance he's got those hands, even a small percentage of the time, if I put that factor into the pot odds, that kind of swings things from not quite getting the right price to getting the right price. So you got to take that into account when you're calculating your pot odds and thinking about what he could have. You have to think about what people have as far as in the range of hands, not just what particular hand they have. If there's a chance that they could have something besides a nut flush, I thought nut flush was heavy in his range. But I also thought there was a possibility, although small, that he had some of these other hands. And if that's the case, then I have to call, because when you put that into the range of hands, now against that range, I'm getting the right price. So I ended up calling, and he ended up showing aces without a spade, which just floored me. Didn't make sense to me at all. If he was scared of anything, he wouldn't have jammed the turn. Why wouldn't he bet the flop? I none of it made sense. And he actually said after the hand that he thought that I had a 10. Or maybe two pair. It'd be hard for me to have two pair. I mean, I guess I could have 5-6. That's possible. I mean, I'm playing 5-6, the same as a set. And he thought he could get me off it. That's possible. But again, that's weird. I mean, I guess I might think about it. It's a lot harder for me because I'm not getting near the right price if I have two pair there. So if you're turning your hand into a bluff, then against two pair, then yeah. I mean, if that's what he was intending to do, but he said thought maybe I could have a 10. I'm like, well, that's weird. Would I really raise big on the turn? And I thought about it. Well, with the bullshit $10 bet, I probably would raise a turn with a 10 with just top pair, yeah. So I guess I could see it. I don't know if I'm making a full pot size raise, but that's the thing. But I guess I could see, yeah. But the thing is, by jamming, yeah, you're charging a spade. If I happen to have a king 10 with the king of spades, I guess I get that. So I didn't really think about that at the time. And, so if there's hands like that, then yeah, okay, then it's a call. Again, I wasn't thinking about those things at the time. It just dawned on me after the fact when he said that at 10. I'm like, yeah, I guess I would maybe raise like king 10 with the king of spades. And I might call if he jammed. But I don't know. That'd be even a harder call. But I tanked forever with the set because I really thought nothing else really made sense. Because I really thought he would have bet something like aces on the flop. So that's what really threw me because he didn't bet the flop. So it was weird. And I thought he was really slow playing the nut flush. And it took me a little bit, and I called, like I said, and that was good. But bottom line of this whole rambling is if you're thinking and you're getting close to pot odds, if there's any chance of there's a bluffing factor or there's some weirdness factor, also think about players sometimes, especially at lower stakes, will overvalue their hands. They'll think, I've just seen it a lot of times where people overvalue their hands. They think top pair is the nuts, and so that can happen too, right? I saw a guy earlier that it was come Jack 3 board, and the guy bet, and the guy raised, and then like $150, the guy called, and the guy had like 2,000 behind him, and the guy jammed all in, and the other guy tanked forever, and he folded, and the guy showed King Jack, and I'm thinking, yeah, you have a Jack, but the other guy could have Ace Jack. Not only that, hello, the guy could have pocket threes. I really feel like that's really overvaluing. I know there's a flush draw on the board, but that is way overvaluing your hand to just jam in $1,000 into a $200 pot when it's very easy. Someone can either have a better Jack or a full house already. Yeah, he probably doesn't have Jack 3, but he could have pocket threes easily. People call pocket pairs all the time on pre-flop. So stuff like that. That's just an example. I've seen just things people go crazy with hands they really shouldn't go crazy with. Plus, honestly, I don't like that because you're not getting value from hands too, and really only better's calling. But to bet 1,000 and go nuts with trip jacks or the king kicker when people could have better jacks or bolts out there, I think is really overplaying your hand. And so you can get that too, overplaying hands. So anyway, that's it, guys. Hopefully this is helpful. We'll talk to y'all later.